Very good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all on the DATV Worldwide Net. Not a very long net today by the looks of it, but welcome aboard. This is ZS6YI from near Johannesburg hosting the net today. We, of course, want to thank the Qatar Satellite Company, always get that wrong, for allowing us the opportunity to host our amateur satellite on their satellite. We also wish to thank the AMSAT DL team, AMSAT UK, and of course the BATC. These are all organizations and amateur organizations that have helped many people come onto satellite, whether it be narrowband on SSB, CW, etc., or on wideband where we do the television broadcasts. So let's just have a look who's on today. It's not a very long list. Yep, today's the 29th indeed. ZS1 Mike near Cape Town in a place called Worcester to follow. Then G8KOE Martin. Going to talk about Allstar Link 3. That sounds interesting, Martin. And then Phil, also in the UK, will try the new TXPC. That's great news, Phil, and let's hope it's going to work out well. And then to Wales, GW7BZY. And then to Paul in Austria, you say, I hope it works on my other PC. Saw you on a little test just now there, Paul. Seemed okay, and it froze just near the end. But anyway, I'm sure audio, knock your audio bitrate down a bit or your video bitrate and you'll be okay. Hello to Ed in South America, Brazil, Papa Yankee 2 Radio November. And then all the way up to Holland. Hello from the Netherlands, Paul. Good to see you on. And hi, drivers. Oh, that sounds interesting. Hello, Mike. G0 Mike Juliet Whiskey. So, back to Leon it goes. ZS1 Mike, if you'd kindly take the microphone. ZS6 Yankee India.
Now, why am I only D2 now? That's interesting. I was D3. My signal has all of a sudden dropped a bit. Huh. Let's give it a bit. Oh, yeah, it's on 14 point. Yeah. Let's do that. Maybe it was too cold. All right. Okay. Gary, ZS6YI, and the whole group. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. From ZS1 Mike, ZS1 Moon Mechanic. Okay, I hope Paul got some, that's now Oscar Echo CK. I hope he's got a few null packets now. That should improve his stability. Okay, remember I told you guys about the the Corky cricket that I'm busy playing with, trying to design. I think I did show you the prototype, the breadboard of the transmitter. Which works very well, double sideband. And last night, well, this weekend I started, and last night I completed the first iteration of the matching receiver. And oops, I actually listened to our local bulletin on it this morning, and I was absolutely amazed. This is a 40 meter, well, it'll do all bands in the end if you want to, but we want it for 40 meters. Oh, come on, camera, focus. A double sideband, and our bulletin gets relayed off the repeater via Cape Town on HF on 40 meters. And yes, I was amazed. I thought I would have to add a few preamps, you know, RF amps and stuff in the front end to get enough sensitivity, but as it is, the sensitivity is more than good enough. So yes, and they both run off the same little synthesizer that I use, because there's no IF, it's direct conversion. You don't need an IF offset in the synthesizer. It just runs at the channel frequency, and there you are. So I was really amazed at the audio quality coming out of this thing. Far superior to any of my commercial HF rigs. because of the bandwidth. There's no bandwidth limitation with IF filters and stuff. So it's not going to be a DX thing for when you have lots of stations conglomerated. But for local, I mean, here in South Africa, the HF bands are so quiet that you don't need super selectivity. I'd rather have good audio quality. And really, this thing is, I couldn't believe it when I tuned into the net, and you could hear all the artifacts and the rubbish on the repeater itself. So yes, now I can start thinking about it. It's got no AGC as it is. It's got a hell of a dynamic range. It just goes louder when the signal is louder. I can leave it like that or add a bit of AGC on it as well. I'll see how I feel about that. I want it to be as basic as possible. It must be absolutely basic. Gary, you'll have to have Leslie build one as well. And I think he'll be proud to say there I can have a QSO on my own home built transceiver. My aim is it must fit into a packet of cigarettes. So I'll see how I can shrink the lot, make it nice and compact, so a small board for it. Anyway, that's it from me. I'm not going to hold it very long. 4 o'clock on the dot, I switch off everything and I have to go. So, Martin, over to you. G8KOE for the group from ZS1 Mike.
Right, I think we're there. Let's make sure that we've got some audio, which I think we have. Yeah, let's mute that up there. Try and remember to speak into the microphone and not mumble too much. What I've been up to, the usual thing, playing with Allstar, trying to get to grips with ASL3, which is the later version, which I'm getting there with help from finding other people that have done bits and pieces. As I think I've shown before, that's once you've loaded it on, you can start off there, and you can either go to the web admin portal or the node links. If you go onto click on the node links, you'll get. I think hopefully I've opened it up. Nope, we've gone into the wrong one. Yeah, someone's just keyed up on one. Right, node links will take you into a monitoring dashboard, which that is it. I've now put the 47572, my main one. Good afternoon there. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike's just logged in, so he's able to contact there. Also got Nigel 2E0EHH. He's running the same sort of node as what both Mike and myself are running, and he's working very well indeed, so quite pleased with that. He's hoping to get his dishes realigned so he can come back and join the net. But one thing that I've been trying to get going is DV Switch, which is an app that runs on an analog phone, and I've not been having a great deal of success, but this morning I suddenly found that he'd done a YouTube video, Ham Radio Crusader, and I missed it before, so I haven't had a chance to put the information in. I've got it working. I had it working on the old network, but that should enable me to get it working on this one, and will make it easy to. Well, one of the advantages is you can use an analog phone, even if you just have it connected to your Wi-Fi, and you can use it to control your node around or link into it, etc., etc. I will put the link up in case anybody else wants to have a look at it. It's probably let's copy it and paste it in. But I only found it this morning, so I haven't had a chance to actually do it. But I don't see any reason why not. The other thing that I did want to get was this one, which is now working, the AIX RPT, which means from a Windows, this machine, I can actually access it or not. And working very well. The other thing that has go back to in here. When you go down to terminal and you log into let's go into it. L dash something that I found exceedingly useful is the backup and restore menu. So once you've loaded it in, back up your system, then if you've played around with the config files, you can get back to a working node. The installation is very easy if you follow the instructions on how to do it. There's very little that needs to be known other than your node number, password, the port, your IX port that you're going to use, enables others to connect to you. Yeah, I won't go on too much more about it, but I've now got all my nodes running on ASL3, which is the main one that I only did yesterday, and then tried to put the DV switch on it and messed it up and had to luckily I'd made a backup, so I was able to put it right. But now I've got extra information on the DV switch, I will attempt to do that. The other thing that sort of happened, my son popped in yesterday, as he does, and whilst he was here he dropped me in a little monitor, which we go there, which is this one, which is an HDMI monitor with sound. I say with sound, it's got two little tiny speakers inside, and it's running the ride at the moment. The ride's sitting on that Raspberry Pi there. So I can let's prove that it is the ride. That's working very well. The interesting thing is that it had a green socket on the bottom, little jack socket, and I thought, that's audio out to an amplifier. So let's go back to me. Bought in little amp, plugged it into it, and got nothing. It wasn't until I turned the monitor over and looked. It's actually mic input, or presumably audio input. So I'm going to have to pull the audio, I think, off from the Raspberry Pi itself. I was trying to look at the chat to make sure that I haven't missed it. But Mike would soon shout at me anyway, so that's the advantage of having the other one. My radialist node is still, and I'm trying to debate whether to tidy it up, but that's it sitting over there. And I've even bodged an extra lead on the microphone, and it's got a PTT switch. Really terrible. I'm going to have to do something a lot better because it was becoming awkward. But so that's my radialist node, and there's the cupboard node and the main one, which is in use at the moment. There it goes. Turn it up a bit louder. Wasn't watching to see, but I expect it was Mike. Was keying it up. Yeah, it does work very well there, Mike. So it means you can tell me when I'm not working. Well, there's Nigel as well. Right, I should have really. Yeah, it's fine. Have a conversation. It's all good. No, it's what it's meant to be. I should have had the other one. Anyway, I'm losing the plot. So let's go over to Phil, who's been vandalising his PC. Yeah, I think I'll turn that down just a fraction. It was quite loud. But hopefully I've kept the microphone going this week again. I'm trying to make conscious effort to there. But if anybody needs any help, then I can be of help. Not that I know what I'm doing on the Allstar side of things. Do give it a go. The Talkback channel, I say Talkback channel, it's just one I've adopted, but you can use it for all sorts of things. And the phone app, I think, is well worth doing. Have a look at the video that I put the link up to, and you might think, oh, I've got an old Android phone sitting doing nothing, and I could use it just to control my node. on that. Are you ready there, Phil? I'll put a test card and throw it over to you from G8 Canary.
Yeah, now have I got any audio? I should have. Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, the saga of the PC. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, all. Yes, last week when I was on the net, I mentioned that I was on a spare PC because my main TX PC basically stopped working. Bottom line was I was convinced it was the motherboard. I took everything off, all the disk drives and graphics cards, and all that I had on the board, on the motherboard, was the memory. And of course I connected a screen to the VGA output. Anyhow, blue screen, I changed the power supplier and it's still the same. So I ordered myself a new motherboard, processor and memory, basically because if I was going to get a new motherboard, I might as well upgrade. There's no point in going with the old one. So I did that, and when it came, I fitted it into the case and I got a blue screen, which blew me away. And I thought, well, the only thing that it can be is the power supply. So at that point, I ordered a new power supply because they're not very expensive, and it was going to come the next day anyhow. So I did that, and then I started to investigate why the new board wasn't working. All the voltages from the power supply appeared to be there. A CPU fan fired up when I turned the motherboard on. All the voltages were there. And exactly the same fault on my old board. Anyhow, to cut a long story short, after a bit of investigation, well, quite a lot of investigation, it turned out to be the reset switch, which I hardly ever used. And when I disconnected the reset switch from the motherboard, blow me, up came the BIOS screen. And I connected the reset switch back on it and went back to a blue screen. When I measured the reset switch, which is just a push button, it was showing up at about 1 to 2K, and it was that. So I cleaned it all up, etc, etc. I haven't connected it back on because I hardly ever used it, but it was the reset switch that was at fault. So anyhow, because I had a new board, etc, yesterday I put the operating system on it, and OBS went on it yesterday, and then today I put FFmpeg, because I use FFmpeg. I come out of OBS into FFmpeg, and I loaded or compiled the FFmpeg, and then I ran OBS, and FFmpeg objected. And it turns out that the latest version of FFmpeg, which is what I'm running, does not support the standard audio codec that OBS uses, and it's a manual process to get that codec into FFmpeg. It's not too arduous to do, it's not that bad to do if you know what you're doing, but if you don't know what you're doing, it can be a problem. But it appears that the latest version of FFmpeg doesn't support it. But it's fully working now. I've had no problem since I've installed that codec. I haven't tried H.266 on it. It did compile without objecting, so I'm assuming it's there. So I might try that. So anyhow, so that's what I'm doing. I'm running on the new PC. It's still got one of its covers off. It looks as if it's a runner, but I'm sure there'll be something along the line that's going to trip me up. But at the moment, it's looking good, unless you guys tell me different. So anyhow, it's enough waffle from me. So I'm going to hand it over to Peter, GW7 BZY. So I'm going to put up a test card and then kill carrier. And
Now I'll try. Okay, apologies once again. This is the third apology because I thought it was working. Now I'll try. Okay. I blame Phil because he dropped out very quickly there and caught me on the hop. I was just setting up on the encoder, and obviously everything was right on the DATV Red, but if you have it on the test, it doesn't actually get to the encoder. So that's why I wasn't getting a signal now. So it became apparent. Yeah, excellent. And good to see you there, Leon and Gary. Receiver looked really good, Leon. That looks a nice bit of kit that you built there. That works so simple yet works so well. I don't know if it would work as well here. My Wi-Fi comes down the mains lane cable down the ring main, and I think it puts the signal out from about 1 meg to 146 megs or something. I think that was, I might be exaggerating a little bit, but it's quite a horrendous amount of RF that it uses on the ring main. And of course some of it leaks out, doesn't it? And it won't be just me. If there's any other houses in the estate that are using this system. The old one was only up to about 36 megs, which flattened the HF band, but left most of the other parts of the band free. But such as noise now. That's the thing, isn't it, for HF? I've given up with HF completely. I have the equipment. I bought some with the feeling that I would get into it, and if nothing, I would get into 27 megs and CB and maybe. But there was nobody local on, and it was a waste of time, to be fair. Yeah, good stuff there, Phil. I mean, I'm tempted to buy a new PC. I have been sort of lingering on it. I want something an i9 with 4090, or maybe, but seeing as there's a 50 range coming out, I may wait and maybe have a 4090 and have it cheaper. But I want something that can really encode VVC quite well, so I think it's needed. And of course, I've got various boards. I've got my Blackmagic SDI. Analog video board, which is my old PC, and then I have a IE what's it 199, the Firewire card, which I could use some of my old Firewire cameras on the back there, which would be quite good. I did give OBS a go. I've been trying to. It's good to hear that Martin's having a great deal of fun with his Allstar. I've just deleted Peanut from my computer because how long did it work for? It worked for about 2 weeks, and then it's come up with an error, bad something. So my interest in digital communications is waning. Apart from obviously on a lot of digital TV, but we are transmitting up to the satellite, and that seems to be pretty stable. But so no more DMR for me for the moment. OBS, I've been giving OBS a go. I thought, well, everybody else is using it. It can't be. It isn't all bad, I know. So I've tried it, and I can't get it to work. It can't. DATV Red will not work for me with OBS. It's been a bit shady, and on and off relationship with my computer and DATV Red, but now they've fallen out completely. And I see I'm breaking up there for some reason. We'll just turn that down a bit. I think I saw a guy on earlier who said he was using too much data. Hopefully my data rate isn't. I seem to have 19% of unused data most of the time, which is another strange happening. Yeah, 17%. So why that should be, I don't know. Anyway, OBS doesn't work for me. That's the end of it. I can take video straight from NVIDIA Broadcaster and put that into DATV Red, and it works. The audio delay is fast, or the video delay is the audio is too slow. I need a faster audio. No, I don't know whether when you have an audio delay, it means the audio comes first. But with my system, the audio always comes last, and I need to delay the video. So somebody may correct me here. Am I assuming the wrong thing, and that the delay on the DAT Red actually delays the video in relation to the audio, or sends the audio quicker? Because that would be the thing I need. I mean, I have found a failing of vMix, and it is a bit of a problem, really. Is that I can't adjust the delay in the audio stroke video with recorded material, which I can with live material coming from the camera, etc. So that is a bit of a problem. And I think OBS, you can do both, which is the reason I wanted to give it a go again, because I might want to use it. Of course, it's free for a start, and if I can adjust the audios for playback of video, it would be handy. Anyway, with that, I'm going to hand it round. As I do know who's next because I've written it down. It is OE8PCK from GW7BZY. It's a bit of a ramble, really, but there's not many of us on, so. And apologies again for the shaky start. I said the quality of the picture's good. Didn't say anything about the operation. There, Gary. From GW7BZY. stops there for some reason. We'll just turn that down a bit. But yeah, with the I think what's it one. OBS doesn't work for me. That's the end of it. I can use take video straight from
Paul, your audio bitrate was very high. And I think that's why you're trying to push too much info through the pipe. So you have to reduce your bitrate to at least 64 or 48 is even better. And you can do it quite easily if you're running a DATV Red. Just go and click onto audio bitrate and reduce it. 64 or 48 is fine, or even 32. But yeah, 64 and 48 works okay. Anyway, we'll give you another turn once you've set things up. Ed, to you, Papa Yankee 2, Radio November. Would you kindly take it, ZA6YI? November. You kindly take it, ZA6.
Yep, almost there. Just a little detail missing there. Okay, guys. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all. Thanks, Gary, for the coordination. I also very interesting, Leon, about your receiver there. Glad that you got very satisfied with the reception. I think I asked it some nights ago if it's maybe it's an AM receiver, right? Very interesting, very simple, and good quality. You mentioned that's great. Martin, thanks for the information about how to connect to the node. It's a long time. I have some DMR radios here, but it's a long time I don't. I have also that Shark RF or something like that. It's that little interface. I need to hook up and try to get back on DMR. For Phil, the computer working fine. Your transmission, the DATV transmission was great, no problem at all. I do have, I mean, I used to build my own computers. I used to buy the motherboard from a place, the memories from another place, the box from another place, the power supply. I used to do that my entire life, but at that point I gave up assembling my own computers, and I decided to buy second-hand computers. I do like Dell, and they have good deals on the second-hand computers. So you can buy them, use it. Usually companies refresh their computer inventory, and then some guy goes there and buy everything and resell it for a good price. Those are the computers I'm buying nowadays, and I don't assemble computers anymore. It's not much I did this week. No experiences. A little bit of 6 meters. It's starting springtime here. September is the time for good propagation on 6 meters. 2 nights ago we got China, Japan, and usually Caribbean and a few European stations on 6 meters. That's all I'm doing on the radio. Regarding the ATV, but it's all the same here. Didn't try anything else. Alright guys, let's go to Paul. Nice to see you again, Paul. Hope everything okay there. Papa Echo 1 Alpha Victor Papa. Go.
Check audio. Check audio. That's fine. There is audio. Now, I think you want to see me, and that's also possible. Okay. Yeah. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening from the Netherlands, as what I wrote in the weekly schedule. Thank you, Gary, for hosting the net. Really great. First of all, I want to apologize to Leon and Paul. Just before 3 o'clock this afternoon, you were testing and I switched on my equipment, but yeah, I did create a carrier for about 8 seconds. And that disturbed Paul's try. Okay, that can happen. Well, last week I was on a tour with the MG, Oldtimer Club. That was really on the last summer day in the Netherlands, I think, for this year. It was wonderful. It was absolutely wonderful to make this tour in the northwestern part of the Netherlands. So that was the reason for not being here. Well, today actually started with sun at a temperature of 6 degrees centigrade. It's warmer at the moment. It must be 14 to 15 degrees now. But everything in between, this last summer day, last week, and today's weather was really stormy weather with a lot of rain. Okay, that's past. So let's look at next week. Hopefully it's better. Well, Last week I spent most time on helping other people. Just as an example, my neighbors left for holidays. In Italy, that means they have a second house there. And they went away for only half an hour. I got a phone call and the alternator in the car stopped. It's a Toyota Land Cruiser, and even on those cars such things can fail. So I helped them back home again. Just saw that the alternator had died. So the one and only way to get them to Italy again, that was to get them into another car. And that was successful. But, well, these are examples of things that cost a lot of time. Furthermore, and that must be interesting to most of you, I had an issue with the Pluto, which I'm using for narrowband communication. As you know, I was on holidays a month ago, and during holidays suddenly my Pluto failed. That means that the Ethernet connection to the Pluto failed. I created a workaround, a simple workaround with using a USB cable to the USB input of the laptop, and that meant that I was able to use the Pluto again during holidays. But at home, I tried to investigate initially in a simple manner what's wrong with the Ethernet interface. I ordered 2 new OTG cables since I was recommended to do that, to replace the OTG cable, and the proof was already soon there. It was not the cable. What I learned that is that the OTG detection by the Pluto was okay. It started up the power supply to the interface adapter, and both the transmitter and receiver LEDs were blinking on the adapter. Interesting, the Pluto was aware that the OTG cable with the adapter was connected, but there was no communication possible. After let's say giving it some initial tries, I decided to spend a day on it. The first thing which I did, that was to read the data sheet of the USB interface IC in the Pluto. And what I learned from that information, that is that there is initial handshake between the host and the client to decide that the Pluto is going to be the host. The detection, whether or not that handshake procedure should start, the detection is done hardware-wise by this interface integrated circuit just before the fuse, which is on the 5-volt power line to the adapter. Well, I switched on my Pluto nearly every day, so on and off. For about 3 years, and what I learned that is that the specs of the fuse deteriorated. It became a resistor of 16 ohms, since the detection of using the OTG protocol is done before the fuse, that detection went wrong. I had a look at the fuse. It's a very tiny SMD fuse, so there was no other way than to short circuit the fuse to try whether or not that was the cause of the problem. And I can tell you that was the cause of the problem. It's working now for almost a week, really fine again. It means that fuses on Plutos can degrade when you use them actively, and if that happens, then you get this problem. So I think that more people will have this. Yeah. Secondly, I'm still working on the advanced spectrum analyzer. I bought a malfunctioning unit, a 26 gigahertz spectrum analyzer, and the first thing that's wrong, that is the power supply. So I took the power supply out. Well, that sounds simple, but it was rather complex, to be honest. Because it's situated centrally in the analyzer, which means that you have to take all the analyzer apart to get the power supply out. Okay, but it's out. And from the reverse engineering, I learned that the power supply is rather complex. By the way, reverse engineering, the way in which I do it is this way. I have a lot of sheets now showing how the power supply is working, the supply delivers a lot of voltages into the unit, and the way in which it is retrieved, that is that there's a primary and intermediate power supply that is followed by a number of power supplies, switching power supplies, which deliver the voltages into the spectrum analyzer. There's also a separate board, that is the logic board, that is switching on the power supply in a specific sequence. Based upon my reverse engineering, I was able to switch it off, such that the let's say power supply switches on, but what I learned that is that the primary switching power supply still is not working right, and I found a lot of leaky capacitors. That is quite usual on these power supplies. I did replace them, but what I also learned that the leakage did disturb the printed circuit board. It's a double-sided printed circuit board with these metal holes in it, the chemical reaction of the leaky capacitors corroded some of these holes completely, and that is the reason why, for example, I had to take a transformer off the other part of the power supply. You can see it here. Can I show it? Yeah, here with my finger. I took the transformer off, and in a way I have to restore the printed circuit board there, such that there is contact again. Well, a lot of people said don't do it, simply buy some other power supplies and replace the power supply in another way, but I see it as a challenge. I want to repair it. Okay, I listened with a lot of care to the other people at the net. It's a good net again. Thank you for that. Leon, your receiver with AGC, really interesting. Martin is in Allstar these days, really interesting. And Phil also listened at your issues with the new PC, but you will get out of that. It will be solved. Peter, during your transmission, for some reason which I don't know, my OpenTuner froze on your signal, so I had to reboot OpenTuner, and then I was able to see you again, but lost a part of the information. And Paul, that was really troublesome. I saw you had 0% of null packets, and your audio became completely out of sync. But please keep on trying, Paul. It was good to see you again, at least. And Ed, it was a great trailer which you made again. I don't know how you do it, but it's really nice. Fine, that's all from me at the moment. Let's have a look at the list. I hand over to Mike, G0 MJW from Papa Echo number 1 Alpha Victor Papa. And now I have to find the button to switch off.
Okay, thank you, Paul. I managed to miss Ed's entry because I think it was still complaining from Paul, so it didn't. I didn't see it, and something was wrong with the buffers. Yes, so discussion going on about LAN adapters. As Rolf is saying, his worked fine. Mine didn't, basically. And it may be to do with the volts I'm putting into the Pluto, I don't know. But or it might be the later revisions are better. Mine are very early revisions. Anyway, without a Y cable, Ethernet worked fine, usually, but not with DATV, not always. So that was the issue. And the Y cable made it so much easier. But that means that fuse that Paul replaced with a short circuit wasn't involved in the action at all. So hopefully that'll still be okay. But it's worth looking at. Those USB chips are very, very small, and the other components are really small, easy to damage. Okay, right. Well, I was going to talk about drivers very briefly. Because I wanted to transmit an AV1 signal for a test, to produce a test data, I upgraded FFmpeg to the later version, which does AV1. And that was all fine. And then when I came to transmit on the Thursday net, FFmpeg would not run. The NVIDIA encoder wasn't working. So, and I don't know if I'm going to have a few freezes here, but that NVIDIA coder required a later version of the NVIDIA drivers for FFmpeg. So I installed those. Great. All works fine. It then broke VLC. So VLC starting to freeze now, and I noticed it froze on my signal, so, and it's doing it again. And Windows has also done a major update, so drivers. Right, what I don't know is if my signal's okay or whether it's my VLC that's complaining, of course, with the new driver. I can't see anyone saying anything on the net about whether it's freezing or not. But the thing I was going to talk about is that. So this. Yeah, okay, thanks. That was Martin on the talkback, which we now have. I see it's frozen again on mine, so I don't know if it is actually frozen. Yeah, well, so, and that's the problem with some of these new drivers, they're a bit unreliable.
That's okay now.
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Yeah, I think that's, again, that's an issue. The other possibility is it's a problem with the network, because it's been playing up a bit as well. But I'm not seeing anything untoward on the Pluto controller. So the other possibility is interference, of course. But I suspect it's this new driver because of some changes they've made and some incompatibility. Do wish people would stop fiddling with things, but of course they do. Right, I was going to talk about this, which is a front panel that I've been designing in FreeCAD, and I thought I'd try JLC, and I mentioned this on Thursday. So I uploaded the STL file, which is what you would normally use for a 3D print, and uploaded that to JLC. It appeared on their system, so I filled in the various boxes, clicked on order, and then it went away to get a quote to see if they could actually make it or not. Not like PCBs, which seemed to happen instantly. This took a bit longer for the checking. And all okay, so I'm now waiting for it to be delivered on the slow post from China. They take about 5 days to build, apparently, and then about 10 days, so something like a fortnight. Much, much cheaper than the European equivalent, same as the PCBs. So we'll see if it's any good or not. It wasn't very expensive, 25 plus tax for this sized panel with all the cutouts in it. Okay, that's probably enough if the thing is dodgy. I could show you a copy of FreeCAD, I suppose, with the where's the desktop gone? Here we go. Ooh, yeah, there we go. With the technical drawing, and if I go here, that's the actual thing. You get the idea. Whee. So you design that in FreeCAD in the normal way, using a sketch. And yes, I know it looks a bit of horrendous. Well, that's because of this thing here. I could turn all that off. But one of these days, maybe we'll talk about how these things are done. I don't know. Right, okay. I don't think there's anyone else next, as far as I can tell. I was the last on the list, unless someone's added themselves. So if you've added yourself, go now. Otherwise, it's Gary. So ZS6YI G0MJW.
It's me, Mike. I'm on the list, and also Keith is on the list after me. It's all there on the internet. Yeah, the panel is quite interested. I'd been wondering about if it was worth trying that as well. I wonder if they do engraving as well or printing. You know, because you don't have any engraving or printing on your 3D model. I presume they could engrave, and then perhaps you could put a filler in if that's what you wanted. But I don't know. I mean, for the amount of metal bashing they're doing for you, to me it seems a bit pricey. I mean, all you've basically got is two square rectangular cutouts, which are quite easy with a drill and a file. The slots are more difficult, but they don't have to be slots. It could be done in a different way, with a bit of gauze over it or something. I presume it's for ventilation. But yeah, I'm very interested to see the outcome of that and what you think about it. I joined the net later because we were having lunch, and I know I gather there was a bit of talk about OTG adapters, and I had a bit of fun with those a couple of months ago. And the only one that I could, and this was using it on Bookworm, and that has a lot to do with it, you know, what drivers actually come with it. And the only one I could get working successfully and reliably was one made by Axis Electronics. I'll give you the type number. It's an AX88772. That's the chip inside it, of course. And they're not as prolific as the other ones, which I can't remember what they're called. But I've designated the other types as junk, because this Axis one just works. It gets detected and it stays detected and so on. It just works. So I'm pretty pleased about that. I think I just had a little drop out then. I wasn't looking at the other monitor, but I just caught it on the side of... Yes, it did it again just then. Yes. That was happening to you, Mike, actually. I presume that's what you were talking about, but otherwise you were pretty stable, and I think I am, actually. So I've been on holiday for the last couple of weeks, but I took my laptop with me, and I've done a lot of reading and, you know, in the evenings and so on. And I've also been experimenting with bits of software that I've never used before. So I wrote 4 little projects just to test out the difference and preferences between INI files, implementing INI files, INI files, or YAML files, or TOML files. And so I've implemented the same little test program in all 3 to see if I have a preference. And at the moment, I'm favouring INIs. I think they're easy to read. If you want it to be human readable, I think the INI file scores by far. But other people would have a different opinion on that. And the other thing I've been experimenting with is MQTT, because I haven't played with that. So I managed to install a broker on the laptop and then wrote a client to mess around with that, with a view to using it instead of my botched up DIY method that I used between upstairs and downstairs. And of course MQTT opens up more possibilities. In fact, what I have in mind is that, as most people will know, my transmitter and receiver are in standalone boxes. I've actually got them stood on top of each other now over there. And because they're stood on top of each other, each has a spectrum display. So, I mean, it's kind of redundant, isn't it? You know, having two spectrum. It was all right when one was over here and one was over there. That was very useful. But now they're on top of each other. Having two is silly. So I'm thinking, why do I even need that? I could use the display to display a lot more information. And then I thought, well, why even use a touch screen? Yeah, having a screen's okay, but why a touch screen? Wouldn't knobs and switches be nice? And then I thought, well, just a minute, I could control the whole thing from MQTT, from a Mac or a PC or a web browser or whatever, you know, I could do it that way. Or you could have both. You could have soft rotaries, you know, rotary encoders to select frequency, little LCD or 7-segment displays to display the frequency you've chosen, another one for the band, multi-mode, you know, whatever you want really. And if you want buttons, well, obviously you wouldn't use, you'd just use momentary buttons and software flip them. And then you could control all that over the internet as well. And that would be a bit neat. So, as you can tell, I'm very much into user interfaces and I like to experiment. So, I don't know where all that's going. It might be all talk. It probably is. Because I've been thinking of all sorts of other things, including what Martin is pushing like hell, which is Allstar. So I read a bit about that. So that's on my list of things to do. In fact, I've developed quite a long list of things that I want to do. The difficulty now is deciding which, if any, to do first. This hobby is so... isn't it? Right, okay, well, let me look back at the list and I'll tell you where I'm going next. We're going over to... we're going over to Keith. GU6EFB. Are you ready, Keith? From EA7KIR in Spain. Just put my test card up.
Yeah, EA7KIR, GU6EFB in the group. Thanks there, Michael. I know the problem, my bench here has got several projects on and I've got to make a decision on which one I'm going to finish. Oh, have I frozen as well? Yeah, it's supposed to be out this afternoon to a remembrance service, but it's open air and it's currently raining and blowing about 40-mile-an-hour winds, so not nice at all. So I thought I'd put in an appearance and just say hi to everyone. It's a while since I've been on the Sunday Net. There's always things that seem to be going on. So not a great deal to add from here other than to say hi, and we're still here. And everything seems to be surviving the high winds. The dishes are still up, which is good. Put it round to you there, Gary. ZS6YI in the group, GU6EFB.
Okay, Keith, great signal. I just want to see, perhaps Paul wants to try again. It'd be good to see if we can be sorted out his problem. So, Paul, would you like to try again? Ocean Echo 8, Papa Charlie Kilo from ZS6YI. Okay, yeah, interesting net today. Leon, yeah, very good on the double sideband receiver and of course transmitter, which you've already tested. So yeah, indeed, we'll get Leslie to make a little kit. Well, once we get a little kit going, get him to build one. He's actually spending from Monday, tomorrow night, to Thursday evening. He's spending here. His mom's going in for a little medical operation. So it's convenient for him to come and do things this end. Anyway, Martin, okay, on the Allstar. Again, you mumbled a bit, my friend. We're going to have to strap a microphone onto you or put an AGC onto your audio input there. That might be a nice project there, Martin. But I did turn up the audio quite a bit to hear you. And then when Phil came on, we had to quickly crank things down. But all good on the Allstar, and I'm glad you're pushing it because it's a nice project actually, and I'm monitoring that. I've just been too busy at the work to even think of amateur radio. Sure, we've been working like mad on this new BMW project, and my God, are they fussy? Oh my goodness. They've got guys checking every single component we manufacture, and we've got 35 different molds running. So yeah. And for the slightest little thing, reject. So, yeah, but it'll settle down, I know, as everyone gets used to the process and also the standards and so forth. And then on the other hand, I've got a bunch of Chinese guys trying to push my prices down because they look at cycle time. So I said to the one lead auditor, I said, look, you cannot expect to just ram plastic into a mold and expect an incredibly fussy customer to accept what comes out the other end. You might have to slow down your injection speed, your holding pressure, your cooling pressure or time, etc., and that changes your lead time. So relax. But yeah, it's you're trying to fly forwards and reverse at the same time. Anyway, Phil, yeah, can you believe that power supply's reset switch? My goodness. Well, it's maybe a blessing you've got a new computer now, so what will we call it? A reluctant purchase, perhaps, or maybe not as reluctant as time goes on. But I'm pleased you found out what the story was, so you can use the older computer for something else, even on DATV for that matter, so spare or whatever. Peter, yeah, I think you forgot to start your encoder. That happens to all of us at some time. But otherwise, yeah, you also did freeze. I noticed there's been quite a bit of freezing on the satellite today. I don't know if it's an interfering signal that gets put up from time to time, but most people froze for a little bit and then continued. But Paul, yeah, I think your bit rate on your audio is far too high, and that was chowing up your null packets and causing you to freeze. But anyway, yes, Ed, I agree with Mike. Also battled to receive your first bit as you came up, but then after a while it settled down and we happily saw the rest. And all noted on building computers. Yeah, you actually don't save much if you take all the time and effort to run around. You score a few dollars here and a few pounds there, but at the end of the day, the time has eaten into that quite drastically. So I've also given up on that idea. I get one of my friends, he's a ham, Romeo, very good programmer as well. He has been on DATV, but he's too busy. He's just shifted house, bought a beautiful new place, so he's building a nice shack, and he'll come up soon, I hope. But I get him to sort out the computers if we need new computers, either for the work or like I've got at home. So I'm almost due. It's now 3 years, I think. It's due for an upgrade. And then I take this one, give it to the factory. One of the data capturers can have that. Right, Paul. Yeah, very interesting on your side with the power supply, number one. That's quite a project, but I'm glad you've got the gumption and also the technical knowledge to push it through, and also, of course, reverse engineer it and then go from there. And I'm sure you're going to get it right. Now, coming back to your Pluto, yes, that is quite a common problem, that fuse. So many people have experienced exactly what you've now rediscovered. So you're on the right track there. Just a thin piece of wire across the thing, and all's well. If they are rather small indeed. But yeah, I hope you get that power supply going. I'm sure you will. But it's a very, very big problem if your acid or your dielectric from the capacitors have actually entered the VIO and started to eat between multi-layer boards, especially if it's more than one layer. It becomes a hell of a headache then. Sometimes you can, by luck, repair them, but it becomes a mechanical issue and almost impossible, because you have to actually drill through to a fresh bit, and by that time you might have even hit another board. So yeah, that becomes a big challenge. I just hope you haven't got that type of issue, and I hope it's only a double-sided or a double board, not a multi-layer. So we hold thumbs, and we await with great interest. Yeah, and the alternator again. These things happen, eh? Even in the best of cars. My one Rolls has been in for a nice total bumper-to-bumper service. The guy's taken 6 months. He's an ex-Rolls-Royce mechanic. And I actually phoned him today. I said, hey, you must now start moving. It's cost me a hell of a lot of money as he's going. Let's get the thing going now. Let's get it back. So he promised me I will get it by Wednesday also. And he took videos and showed me what he's done. He's an artist. He really, anything that's just not 100% out of the factory, he restores, even if it needs a little bit of a repaint on the engine or whatever. So new seals and new injectors and new pipes and the whole thing. So it'll be good when it gets back. It'll be nice to drive it. It's a nice car. That's a Spirit 4. That's my runaround, because that's the one I've got my ham equipment built in. So it'll be nice to go to work and talk to the guys on 2 meters. Okay, Mike, yeah, you froze a couple of times. Don't know why that should be, but otherwise it was fine, perfectly readable, good signal as usual. And yeah, it looks like you might get a very professional looking faceplate there. Yeah, 25 is, but you're getting 5, I think you said, isn't it, for that price? So it's not bad. I suppose they're all laser cutted, and quite rightly, you could have them engrave something in them. Perhaps you have. And then afterwards, just take a bit of paint, wipe it over, and then a squeegee or a rag with a bit of thinners over that again before it's too dry, and it comes up beautifully. So I'm sure that'll be something nice to look at. Okay, Michael. Yeah, you also froze once or twice. I think everybody's going to have this problem today. So it might not be the equipment. But all good on the 2 units, and yeah, sometimes too much info is also no good, but your system's working out very well. I just wonder, you go on holiday and then you're reading amateur radio stuff while you are retired, and you can read amateur radio stuff. So I don't know. Perhaps a holiday should be away from everything. But anyway, it seems as though you've enjoyed yourself, and I'm pleased you're back. Keith, nice signal, although it was a short over. Yeah, many projects on the desk, so you know, the one that presses the most, it gets the most attention, I suppose. Now, I just want to ask a question on behalf of Joe. Joe, he's got his ports down working, but he wants to use OBS with ports down and is having a little bit of issues. Martin FKK is trying to gather some info for Joe. But if anyone's on frequency that can maybe give him pointers, it'll be great. I just want to also say hi to everybody watching on YouTube. Quite a number of people, 46 the last count. There's Ashley Booth, Joe, Fankala Lanza. I pronounced incorrectly, Joe. That's 9 Hotel 1 Golf Tango. 9 Hotel 1 Golf Tango. That's Joe. He's going to be on DATV shortly. And then Nigel. Hi, Nigel. Nigel Reeve, always on. Nice to see that you are on there. And then also, of course, Adam. He's always on. Sierra Papa 9 Alpha Charlie Quebec. Hi, Adam. And then lastly, Regina. Delta Golf 5 Fox Mike. So those are the guys so far on who has at least entered themselves on YouTube. Okay, with that, I'll pass it around for one more over, but I'll close the net. I won't take a next over. And so we'll go down the list. Whoever's there is there, and whoever's not there is not there. So to you, Leon, Leon's gone. He said 4 o'clock he's gone, but maybe, you never know. Maybe he's hanging on. I hope so. Failing which, Martin, G8KOE. ZS1 Mexico, possibly. Indeed not. G8KOE from ZS6YI. Indeed not. KOE from ZS6YI. Indeed not. KOE from ZS6YI. Now, why doesn't it bloody well want to switch off? It's interesting. Yes, see. Why doesn't it bloody well want to switch off?
Yeah, I think I understood that Leon wasn't going to be there. So we're going to make sure we've got some going to be there. So we hopefully let's mute that down there. Coming back. Well, I've increased the audio a little bit, so hopefully I won't mumble this time. Probably find I've got buzzes and whistles and things. I try and keep the audio down because I'm almost in the house and you can hear other noises that are going on in other rooms. So that's partly the reason, and partly the reason is that I look away from the microphone, I think, and lose my way a little bit. Anyway, we'll see how we go. Yeah, Allstar is not DMR. It's definitely not DMR. It's based on a phone network system, Ascris. So you get a normal FM radio, no DMR. I haven't got anything on DMR anymore. I've given it up. Put it all in the cupboard, out of the way, and just concentrating on Allstar. The quality is just so much better, and it's really versatile for what you want to do, and easy to build either a radioless node, which is just a sound fob and an amplifier really, and a microphone, and a PTT switch. And you're away. What amplification you put in or not. My radioless node is just using an electric microphone in my high quality container. Might as well show it just to push Allstar that I'm pushing at the moment. So that's the microphone with a PTT switch added this morning, which is really, I could do it a lot neater. So that's it, and that's obviously the sound fob that's been modified, just 2 wires. We only need one if you don't want the LED, and in fact an LED will appear on there when it's transmitting, so if I was to key up and let go, the little LED will come on. It'll make a beeping noise, and this time is putting out a call sign. Anyway, that's my setup there. What I was going to comment on, yeah, GW7BZY Peter. You seem to have problems with most bits of software, etc. So I don't know. Certainly, it's not a problem with DATV Red and OBS works a treat, which is what I'm using, and not a problem. So I don't know what you do. Yeah, thank you then, Nigel. It just came through. Just to no, hopefully Nigel can get his dish sorted out and he can join the net. What was I going to comment on? Paul with his with his power supply and such like that he's rebuilding. Yeah, I couldn't take that, and I just thought I'd mention. I hope you're following the UK politics. With that's all I can say there. Really, you couldn't. Yeah, it's just unbelievable at times. Yeah, I don't think I've got a lot more to add really, other than just to mention it's not DMR. So that's that horrible stuff. And peanut, yeah, that's not real anything, as far as I'm concerned. Right, I'll probably upset a lot of people, but hopefully the audio's a little bit louder this time, and my friends down under will moan at me because I was mumbling on the first transmission. Maybe can hear me, but probably they preferred not hearing me. But I will keep pushing Allstar, and yet Michael, Michelle, rather, you should put Allstar at the top of your list. An MQTT, it seems very interesting. I wish I understood more, but DATV Red uses it a lot to communicate, and I have an MQTT server with a ride connected to it, which F5OEO did, which then communicates and then down to DATV Red. So that's how I get the receive side on the DATV Red. So it's all there. If I click on FF Play or whatever you want to click on, up it'll come, and we get another receive there, or should do. He says, "Come on, yep, there it is." That's looking at me. Let's close that down, and obviously you can control various things from in here, etc., etc., etc. Anyway, everybody knows about things that can be done. It does get involved, and if I understood more, I'd be able to do more. Right, I'm now lost. Need to look at the list, don't I? It was Phil. Oh yeah, Phil with his dodgy switch. Did you say you cleaned it up and you put it back? I think I would not want to have that switch anywhere near my PC. But anyway, pleased you got it working. So you've got a spare PC now. Round to you there, Phil, and thanks for everybody. Good net. Good to see you all. And as I said, hopefully I'm a little bit louder from G8KOE. Test card no to you there, Phil.
Right, should be audio there. Yes, definitely. No, I didn't put the switch back. No, I thought about it, but I never used a reset switch, so not much point in putting it on, and it's suspect as well, so no, it didn't go on. As for Allstar versus DMR, Allstar uses Asterisk, which is a voice over IP PBX. So the communication is actually voice over IP, and that's probably why the quality is much better. But yeah, so that's Allstar. Yeah, power supplies and dielectric. When I used to work on the benches years ago, I used to work on switch mode power supplies, and there was one particular design which I'll point out was not the best PCB design that's ever been created. What there was a capacitor, and the tracks on it were very large. So you've got this capacitor. It was a double-sided board, and on the other side of the board was another quite large track. And what it meant was that you had 350 volts between these two large tracks, and there's fiberglass in between it. Well, this capacitor basically started to leak its dielectric, and it soaked into the fiberglass, and eventually the fiberglass became conductive. And then what happened was that the fiberglass turned into carbon, which made matters even worse. And I can remember removing this capacitor and powering the board up, because it would run without it, make a bit of a noise, but it would run without it. And I can remember looking at this black patch on this fiberglass board, and there was like a little tiny worm in this carbon, a little orange worm that was moving around as if it was alive, and that effectively was the fiberglass burning. But yeah, it wasn't a particularly good design. I mean, what I did was powered it down, of course, and I just drilled a great big hole where the carbon was, and put a new capacitor on it, and it worked fine. But yeah, that was really bad designed switch mode power supply. But there we go, that was a long time ago. It appears that my PC is running okay. I might put the covers on it later, and then I'll end up putting the rest of the software on it. There's not much more software to go. But yeah, FFmpeg. I mean, I because mine's a Linux machine, so my FFmpeg is basically, it's all command line stuff. And okay, you might have a GUI that runs it, but it's basically command line. And yeah, as I say, when I loaded the latest FFmpeg on, it was missing one of the codecs that OBS uses as standard. This is for audio. And so it was a manual process of loading that codec in. The worst thing about it, funny enough, it's not the process of loading it in, because if you know how to do it, it's relatively simple. The difficulty is trying to find the actual the codec itself. So it's the actual software itself that was that caused me a problem. It took me more time to find it on the internet than it did to actually install it and then compile FFmpeg. But that's another story. Anyhow, okay. Yeah, so not quite sure if my picture is okay. Picture is okay, but just heard that it probably wasn't. Anyhow. Okay, guys, I didn't see it. I'm not saying that it didn't do that. I didn't spot it, but I haven't got my fire running, so I need to put my fire on, and that's always a good indication as if I'm freezing or not. But I didn't see it. But as I say, I'm not always looking at myself. Right, that's enough from me. Have a good week, guys. I'm going to probably be doing some more decorating. Probably finish off, well, I will finish off this PC and then do some decorating. But I'm going to hand it over to hopefully Peter, if he's still there. So I'm giving him fair warning. I'm going to hand over to him, and I'm going to put up the test card, if I can find it. There's my test card. So it's
I'm sorry. I think I jumped over Peter. Peter is with you if you're still there.
I think Peter's not coming back somehow. Oh, you did give.
Yep, looks like Paul is still having problems and Peter going. All right, guys. Gary, interesting. You mentioned some freezes from some stations. I didn't get any freeze at all. For the last overfill, Mike Zero Papa India Tango got a little, very quick freeze at the end of his over, but that's all. Everything was perfect, Phil. Not a problem at all. Yeah, my introduction was kind of very intense. I think it's not suitable for 333. It's lots of flashing stuff. I don't think it's going to work fine here with this bandwidth. Needs to be 500 or 1K. That's the reason you guys didn't see that correctly. But nice to check and see you again, Paul and Mike. Good luck with your front panel. Seems to be going to be a very nice work, and remember to show us when you get it ready. Hello to Michael in Spain, also to Keith from Go Jiu Land. Nice to see all you guys. Great net today. Say 73 to all, and hope to see you next weekend. All the best. So I'm passing to you, Paul. Papa Echo 1 Alpha Victor Papa from Papa Yankee to Romeo November.
And the first thing is an audio check. And that seems to work. That is great. And there, it's me again. Okay. Thank you all for, again, this wonderful net. I really enjoy it. Let's have a look what's been told. Yeah, Mike. Indeed, you are right. Short-circuiting a fuse, that is rather dangerous, especially in the Pluto. But since my Pluto is built into a cabinet for narrowband, and the only thing connected is this interface device that is working for 3 years now already, I thought I can take the risk, huh? Because replacing the fuse, that is quite difficult. Yeah, you talked about external power. I thought about it, but I did not do that. It's a good question why I did not do that. Maybe I'm a bit lazy, could be. Okay, yeah, that reminds me that looking into the circuit diagram of the Pluto, there is an electronic switch powering on the 5 volt to the Ethernet, no, to the USB connector. If something would go wrong, it means that this electronic switch will be damaged and not the USB interface integrated circuit. Okay, I took the risk, gentlemen. By the way, Mike, the signal and your transmission was really okay. So you saw freezes, at least that's what I learned. But these must be caused by VLC then. Okay, and also great to see your front panel for your cabinet. Okay, Michael, you did deliver the type number of this Ethernet adapter from Axis, AX, but you were too fast, so I did not have a pencil to write it down. So perhaps you can repeat the number of the Ethernet adapter that is working fine to your opinion. And I say hello, Kees. It was the first time that we met. Good afternoon there. Gary understood the quality requirements of BMW and the Chinese customer that's talking about prices all the time. I do understand that sometimes this is a headache. And you told that the Pluto issue is a known issue. Yeah, I spent nearly a day on it. To drill it down to that problem. But again, I learned a lot, and that's also valuable. But if I had known that this is a known issue, then of course it would have been solved in another way, the way in which Mike told, with the external power. Okay. Gary, switching off, that is also difficult. That is what I saw. I do not know what happened, but switching off the transmission is not always easy. Martin, let's not talk about politics. We should have talked about politics with Paul today, since Austria is voting today, general elections, and I really want to know the outcome of it. That's what we will learn late this evening or perhaps tomorrow morning. Phil, your transmission was okay with the new PC, no problem whatsoever, but what you told regarding the power supplies and the cracks in the printed circuit board and the dielectric of capacitors, that was most interesting. So I will look for orange worms that you talked about in the fiberglass, whether or not they did appear, because the problems that you talked about could also be active in my power supply. Okay. And Ed, you in a way complained about your own introduction, which has a lot of flashing events, but well, to my opinion, I had no problem receiving it. So actually, I always enjoy your introductions, Ed, and also good to see you. Well, next on the list, that is Mike. Let's see whether Mike is still there. At least I wish you a nice week. Thanks a lot for the interesting net, and we will meet hopefully next week again.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, I'm still here. Just showing you this design, which may or may not appear on the screen. Oh, finally. Right. Yeah, so I worked out that the way to add text on whilst watching the net. So there you go. And actually, I can look at that and put it on my 3D printer. The problem is it's too big, so the 3D printer won't print it, and it moans, or the driver moans that the thing is too big. But I mean, that's not that obvious, but it'll become obvious, I think, if I do something like this and then I zoom in as to what it's done, it's basically rooted out those letters. So it's always difficult to tell, isn't it, when they're going in, not out, in that particular situation. Oh, sorry, I was not showing you the screen. Sorry, thank you, Martin. Yeah, so here it is, but it's too big to go on the printer. And maybe you can see, I don't know if it'll show up. It might do.
Camera.
Yeah. What about the camera? It's good to have talkback, isn't it? So what they are is they would be routed out with a mill, but you wouldn't get the sharpness that's shown there. So that's not the right way to do it. It is a way to do it, but and if you were using a 3D printer, that's the way you would do it. I'm going to close this down now. But to do it properly, you need to provide an engraving file and engrave them with an engraving bit. And that's the bit I didn't know how to do. So rather than try and work out how to do that, which I think would be quite complicated, and I don't even know if JLC can do that. They probably can. Easier just to do without any lettering on it. So I think if you sent them two files, one with the engraving and one with the panel, then they'd be able to do it. But again, I don't know how to do that. So that was just the explanation. But the easiest thing to do is just to print it on paper, and there you go. Unfortunately, paper's a bit thin, so it doesn't work. But you can also print on transparent paper and cut out things and stick it on like that, or what I do with these sort of labels and stick the labels on them, and I have a label printer that will do that. So that's the best way to do it, really. Just stick a sticky label on and label it. Not that it really needs any. I mean, it's a 40 amp power supply. It's got a voltmeter and ammeter, and the voltmeter says it's a voltmeter and the ammeter says it's an ammeter. There are no other switches inside, so what's the point of a label? Okay, right, well, 7:03 everyone, hope everyone has a good week. I won't be on next week, but we will be on next week, maybe, because it's no, sorry, I won't be on next week. We'll be on in 2 weeks time, when I also won't be on, because it's the RSGB convention. Hopefully we'll have a demo station there, but that means it'll be 3 weeks before I'm back for this particular net. So everyone have a nice time, and I'm going to pass it around to Michael. And I didn't know you were on, Michael, because you hadn't put the thing in the list at the start, you see, so that's why I didn't know you were there, and I'd switched off that page and I was looking at the chat page. Right, so on to you, G0MJW.
Well, I had a few problems at my end, because immediately I blame everybody else. For example, I put on the chat no audio mic. Well, actually it turned out that my receiver had frozen for the second time, and it seems I've got a little error in the software somewhere. It's really annoying, is this, because they become so reliable, my two boxes. You know, I was beginning to come bored, hence thinking of new projects. Anyhow, now I've got a problem to solve, but fortunately it produces a log file, so I know exactly where it went wrong. And it's not where I would have imagined. It's actually in the spectrum display, which is really odd, because I've got two exact same software for the spectrum display on the transmitter box and the receiver box. It's a problem with way VLC. I'm not using VLC if that is directed to me. I'm using FF Play, but that's anyhow. What the only I haven't had time to look into this yet, but the error message is it reached end of file while grabbing the information from the BAT wideband streamer spectrum display. But it only happened on the receiver, not on the transmitter, and they're both running exactly the same software, which is a bit odd, isn't it, that one bombed out. So it's produced a massive log because it's in a loop, you see. So I rebooted the receiver and all was well. So that's the reason I couldn't get Leon in the first place, and it took me a couple of overs to figure that out. And then just in the middle of Mike's thing, Mike came on air just now and started talking, and I thought I'll just have a closer look at the log file. So I tried to open it up in Nano. As I said, the log file is, I don't know how big it is, I'll check, but it's probably nearing the limits of, well, it's exceeding the limits of RAM, let me put it that way, because Nano couldn't load it and it froze the entire Pi. I logged in on another terminal and tried to restart it, and I couldn't even log in. So the only choice was to switch off the mains and let it reboot that way, and it got back just as Mike was finishing. So it's a weird problem, is it? I don't know what's causing it, and it's strange that it only happened on one and not on both. I mean, Gary was almost suggesting that it could be an internet problem in general that's causing so many problems today. And if that's true, maybe it's affected this, but why one and not both? I don't know. Well, they'd be in different places in the loop, wouldn't they? So it just missed it. Let's say there was a spike of some kind, and this one just caught the spike. So I don't know how I'm going to examine this log file because it's too big to open. And I can't remember what line number it was on, but I think I'll better work it out because it did say end of file. It's not supposed to do that. So these problems are here to test us, aren't they? Anyhow, it seems to be working now. On a wing and a prayer. So where are we going now? That's it from me. Thank you for the net, Gary, if you're still there, but I think you've probably gone by now. And I hand it over to Keith, GU6 EFB from EA7 KR, and good afternoon to all the people on the net and watching. Put my card up and then I'm out.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Thanks then, Michael. Yeah, a few dropouts and things, but I don't know, we've got really bad rain and storms here at the moment. Oh, excuse me, I've got a frog in the throat. Nice to meet everyone. And, oh, why can't I find what I'm looking for now? Always the way. Gary, there's lots of useful information about using IPN on the BATC website for setting up a ports down 4. I've just quickly tried to sort mine out, but I must have got something wrong. Anyway, I wish everyone a good week, and there's some of the stormy weather, kind of tides coming over the seawall. So it's all a bit rough down here at the moment. Anyway, I wish everyone a good week, And
All right, I'm going to officially close the station now. Thank you for coming up, and hello to all those that watched on YouTube, 65 people, and hello to Christo Roots, a friend of mine down the road. He was watching on YouTube. Hello, Christo. Ek hoop het gaan goed daar met jou. But anyway, with that, thanks for coming up, guys. Nice talking with everyone, and interesting as usual. This is ZS6YI, now signing clear and bidding everyone a happy week. 7-3 all.